Welcome to Nursing 115, Week 2. Today we're going to look at concepts and terminology related to pathophysiology. Now, pathology is the result of a disease and changes in homeostasis. Again, what is pathology? Pathology is the result of disease and changes in homeostasis. So remember that. We're going to be looking at disease and we're going to be looking at homeostasis. When we look at disease and homeostasis, we're going to be looking at 8 principles. So let's look at this now. We're going to look at what is pathophysiology. Do not get overwhelmed by what we're going to talk about today, because we're going to have to repeat this over and over again just so that you can get the concept. What is pathophysiology? Pathophysiology is the science. Pathology is the result of the disease. So what we are studying is the science related to the disease. And there are 8 components in there. So what is pathophysiology? And then we're going to look at why. Let me get a new marker here. Why should we study pathophysiology? So once again, pathophysiology is the science. Why should we study this science? That's what we're looking at. The next thing we're going to look at is fundamentals. Fundamentals of the disease. Okay, so after we would have looked at what is and why, we're going to look at the fundamental of the disease. Now remember, I said pathology is the result of the disease and changes in homeostasis. So fundamentals of the disease, guess what? What do you think it is? It is homeostasis. H-O, spell that for me. H-O-M-E-S-T-A. What else? S-I-S. Exactly. And then pathology is the result of the disease and changes in homeostasis. So fundamentals includes homeostasis and the disease. Excellent. Okay? What is pathophysiology? It is a science. Why study the science? Now we're going to look at the fundamental of the disease, which is the disease itself and homeostasis. Then the next principles, that'll be 1. Remember I told you there were 2, there were 8, okay? The second one is the pathologist. Oh, so now what do you think this is? This is the scientist that studies the science, right? So we're going to look at the pathologist. We're going to look at the profession. The next thing we're going to look at is pathogenesis. Then 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. Can anybody tell me what you think the 4th one is? Well, the 4th one is predisposing factors. Welcome to nursing, everybody. Welcome to nursing. This is your first year. These are new words, and this pathophysiology class is going to introduce you to concepts and terminology. So let's look at number 5. Number 5 is categories. Okay, so categories of the disease. That's what we're going to look at. Categories of the disease. Let me put my marker on here. Now, I hope you're writing this down, because what's going to happen is we're going to come back and we're going to talk about those 2 concepts right there. All right? Endogenous and exogenous. We're going to come back and look at that later. All right? So put those 2 lines there. We're going to come back and talk about those 2 categories. Then we're going to give examples. And then, of course, number 7, we're going to look at causes. And then we're going to look at the disease process. Okay? So, next, After you're done, I'm going to go over this again, and then we're going to go into the PowerPoint presentation. But the PowerPoint presentation is going to go over all of these factors. Next week, we're going to go over the disease process because there's so much information in there. So what is pathophysiology? We're going to talk about that first because pathology is the result of the disease and the changes in homeostasis. You will understand the concepts and the terminology related to that. Then we're going to look at why. Why study pathophysiology? The fundamentals of the disease. There are two areas here, the disease itself and homeostasis. Homeostasis means equilibrium, absence of disease. Disease means there is something present that is pathological. Okay? So homeostasis is absence of disease. The pathologist is the individual that studies the pathophysiology. Pathogenesis is the genesis, the making, in the beginning of the disease. Pathogenesis. Predisposing factors, what makes you at risk. Then we're going to give you the categories. The two categories, one is with lesions and one is without. Functional and structural, we're going to talk about that as well. Examples. This is going to be like something I'm going to give you all like a little homework assignment.